Hello guys, welcome to a new edition of React Today as part of the Volkswagen project. Things that are happening very fast as the negotiations between the United States, China, Russia, when it comes to China and the tariffs are very high now. So the tariffs war is a reality. Of course, the United States is going to lose this war, especially if we talk about chips and the chips production. Then, let's say, for an example, one of the ways of the politicians to enrich themselves is to know information before time so they can invest their a million or two of their dollars in order to get a big return. Because this market, if you know when it's going to go up, because the government is going to invest $54 billion on these ships from Taiwan, um, well, that would be a good thing to know so you can invest in those companies so that you can get a return, and that's a very juicy return. So Nancy Pelosi, for example, did that. The husband of Nancy Pelosi did that. 23 congressmen participated in events like this, and when they have to disclose, they ask for a prorogation of their disclosure in order for them to speak about their investments. But after the 90 days, they denied to do the obligatory and the mandatory according to the law to disclose this kind of information. But when they don't disclose this information because they got benefited by the investments they did for having information before time that any of us citizens do not have, that is illegal and constitutes corruption big time. So that's how the American government operates, and all governments that are related and have lobby issues, which is to give the corporate state the advantage upon us regular citizens, in order to make investments at the right time to get enormous returns that we, the citizens, should have access to. So when you take that information and invested it in yourself with your own money, that is illegal for a politician. Nancy Pelosi is just one of the cases. Like I said, 23 other people don't disclose their information. And when we live in a country like this, in the United States have very little future because only the lobbyists are going to call the shots. And that is what the government of Donald Trump is doing. Uh, um, with his friends, we explained it in the last program how in the first 6 weeks of the administration of Donald Trump, things have gone better for him and business is booming, dude. The same with the members of the OPEC, the oil producers, exporters, and many other companies and corporations, including armament, uh, Boeing, and the regular suspects, and money is flowing. So yeah, that's how politics operate. And if you oppose it, you can be arrested. And the constitutional mandate of the First Amendment, the right to for speech, can be abused, misuse, abuse, as is happening with the case of the students, as we have mentioned before, that have been detained, and it has happened in Canada with a few people that have to leave the country. For example, one of the lawyers was pushing his firm um, the right to resist, and he decided to move to Greece. I don't blame him; he has the means to do so, but he has to quit his law firm because of he received um, bullying from the Jewish community here in Canada. So the firm decided to call him and said, "Hey, man, we are receiving a lot of backlash." And he moved and he withdrew from the firm, being him a member of the firm. His name was included as an associate, and now he's in Greece. The same happened with another Canadian that was detained for 5 days. Then he was released, and the conditions in which he was released, his lawyer demanded from the court, well, with the proof that these measures, countermeasures against him were unlawful and ridiculous. But they wanted to create fear on us, the country and the world. And that only explains the corruption into which our leaders have our representatives have taken us, not as the people, but the benefit of the very, very few that can give their dogs the crumbs of some information about $2 or $3 million that they have like no problem to invest, in this case, in on the chips and stuff like that. And when the world works like this, corruption becomes the enemy number one of the world. And one of the lobbyists, if not because he's just one of many, but he's the most influential, is 37 states in the United States who support the Israeli. And you cannot work in any of those countries. I have said it also before that in any of those states, if you don't sign a letter, that's a contract that says that you will not boycott Israel by any reason to speak against it or whatever. So you have to submit your will, constitutional protection from enemies foreign and within the government in order to support another government that is not supplying you with employment, is taking the employment from you or guaranteeing that you can work on, with the only condition that you serve another country from another place that you have never been maybe in your life in order to take that policy domestically in a place where you live and you need to work. But if you don't abide by them, a foreign country, well, you're fired. You can be destituted of your position. Your contract can be just ripped off like they did in the United Nations, laughing on us. And now it's happening with the students and universities all around the world, and that only, with few exceptions, of course, like South Africa, Ireland, where President Prime Minister Netanyahu have to avert Ireland and Greenland because if he enters airspace, they a couple military jets can say, okay, you put down or we blow you. You are under arrest according to International Criminal Court in the International Court of Justice. And according to the 1948 agreement in which all countries signed, and it was including the United States and Israel, the prevention and punishment of genocide of 1948 and ratified in 1951. So when we see that there are countries resisting this, that Britain is taking a lot of advantage, that corruption is rampant in the Western civilization, that what is going on in Europe is to arm Europe to the teeth with $803 billion that they are supposed to invest. There's $150 billion already moving on in order to give to Ukraine and to distribute among the willing countries, as they call it, the willing countries to separate from NATO. That means that Article 5 is not going to apply if they decide on their own to go against Russia. So the willing countries which are part of NATO, that means it will not apply in theory, but in reality NATO might decide to change the game and said, okay, we're going to war against Russia and we're going to use nukes, etc. So like I have explained before, that is a very bad idea. The best analysts will say that it's a stupid idea from the European Union, but the European Union is using an emergency plan. Everything is an emergency in Europe, in the 27 countries, except for Viktor Orban, which also give the welcome to the genocidal regime of in the head of Prime Minister Netanyahu. And apparently it's okay. I like Viktor Orban in the sense that he's protecting his country. That's all right. Even though he's racist and he's sharing ministry with a genocidal person, etc. But the fact that he's disobeying the willing and imposed decision of the super rich and people of this commission and the European Commission have legal procedures too. It's not only Benjamin Netanyahu, it's not only President Donald Trump, it is not only the members of the Senate and the commissions in the United States and here in Canada Parliament, which has investments or informations in advance, which is illegal, I repeat, in order to make themselves richer. Etc. It's not only that corruption, but also the corruption of the lobbyists that are asking to stop the fertilizers here in Canada and pay a bigger price, a tax imposed to them if you use fertilizer in order to cut the emissions, when the emissions have to be cut to the subsidies that the nations give, in this case Canada, the United States, to oil and gas industries that come from the pocket of the taxpayer. And not only that, the benefit of those goes, of course, to the heads of the corporations and the politicians and distribute their money. Again, it's a circle that feeds the political avenues and the rich, excluding the will of the people forever. That means only the people in power have the right to make decisions, and they don't represent us, the country, or the world whatsoever. Neither in Europe with the European Commission, neither anywhere else that we can think of. And so I said again, it's up to us now, to us, for us, for the country, for the world. We have to react today to this matter, react today, and take action. That means vote for the right people and make sure that we have assemblies into which a more direct exercise of what democracy is understood by us in the Western culture be effective, and that is to destitute the elites. The problem with the elites, I said it years ago, is that they're totally untrustworthy, and they are treasonous, and they are very ambitious. They are greedy to the point to discussing other planets already and who's going to conquer them and what are the companies that are going to be there. And I understand that it's business, but when business takes over a whole world, civilization is reduced to nothing, because the participation, the power of the participation in the decision making of well-informed citizens can create a civilization that is enduring, that is stable, and that uses resources of energy that we know for more than 100 years. Again, Nikola Tesla said it, proved it, and did it. And we end up using 90 years later, like the cure for cancer, etc. So when corporations are dictating domestic and foreign policy and are bribing the elites because it's business as usual, no civilization is going to start. On the contrary, the plutocracy and the tyranny that plutocracy produces, like is what President Donald Trump is doing, supporting the state of Israel and thinking to go into war with Iran, is going to destroy him, America, or this is going to break America down. She's still going to stand up and survive, sure, but bringing the war home is a bad idea. I have told you that for the last 10 years, especially for the last 5 years. Today or this year that I celebrate, and we celebrate, my subscribers and I, the 10 years of React Today as part of the World's Whale Project, because it began as the World's Whale Project. So thank you guys for being all this time. Let's multiply our subscribers, and we cannot be shy of the events that are taking place. So Europe is being deceived by the elites. The Americans are being deceived by the elites. They're using artificial intelligence in order to control all aspects of humanity. How to control not only the information, but how to control the locations with military and police enhancement, that is militarizing the police and letting it go like they do in Israel when the protests and the marchers run in their universities around in circles. Sometimes they're violently attacked, especially by Zionists. Who's going to protect us from the Zionists if these governments are all corrupt and are all for them, like Viktor Orban receiving Netanyahu, like the United States of America, or a prime minister that says that I am a Zionist, that no Canadian Zionists should be afraid of walking the streets? I'm sorry, but we are the people, and we totally disagree with you, ex-prime minister, and thanks God you're gone, because the majority of us Canadians, the millions of us that live in this country, disagree with you. We don't like Zionists in here, mister. We don't. If you're going to think, ex-minister, that you're going to shut us up or down because you are a Zionist, you are guilty of one of the most amazing crimes committed against humanity in the 21st century, Mr. Trudeau. And you don't deserve our respect whatsoever by saying that. On the contrary, you should be investigated and trial, because Zionism is genocide, and I don't want that to happen to Canadians. And they already, Mr. Trudeau, have killed Canadians, Americans, and Europeans while trying to protect people from genocide, something you are not doing. Justin, you don't represent us, so shut up, because, yeah. We are the people, and we do not agree with you, Mr. Trudeau. We have never, especially since the pandemic, which is another point that we need to talk about, because the pandemics are going to come again, and they're gonna push it again, trying to isolate us like they did before. They're just giving it some time because the impact of the pandemic, but there has been no people found out responsible, and we know that Senator Rand Paul did big debates accusing Fauci of fraud. So this is something very important to keep in mind. Okay. Okay, 45 minutes. He said 20 minutes, and I'm not kidding, I think it took me like 10 minutes to walk back. You were that rushed? No, I was not that rushed. I did not realize it was going to take me that less time. I'm recording, darling. Oh, no problem. Make yourself comfortable. So, when you take a look at these kind of plutocracies running out on us, the world, in the name of emergencies, and take the money from us, 800,000 million euros between now and the next 10 years. Of course, Orban said, no, I'm not going to put that money, dude. Because we have to understand that to produce weaponry and to buy weaponry, which you can switch off anytime, like this F-35s, F-16s, all the aircraft that is sold by Boeing and these security corporations, they can sell it to you, but if they don't want you to fly it, they can just shut your engine off. They can do it with the cars, they can do it for a long time now, so they can also switch it off and the airplane can just go down or not function. When you have people like that as associates and you're buying weapons like this is not an investment, this is an expense. War is an expense. Yes, it's going to produce some jobs, sure, but the only ones that are going to be benefited by them are the big corporations selling their weapons at their will with no loyalty whatsoever. If the United States don't want that you are making advances to a country that is friend of his, he's going to switch kill the switch for the planes, and not only that, for the tanks, for the turrets that are using tanks that are produced here in Canada and the United States and other places around the world, especially Israel, who produces these turrets, that they can do exactly the same. And not only that, they are also doing it, as you have seen in this program, React today, as part of the World's Whale project, how they also do it with the tractors that John Deere sell all around the world in order to make more money for maintenance, when in the good old days production was good and steady, and if your tractor didn't work, you can repair it yourself. Not anymore. The same is happening for European cars like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and all these American cars that you have to maintain only by the producer itself. Not you cannot take it anywhere to Callow Tire or to Canadian Tire in order to be repaired, because they cannot do it anymore. They obey to a switch and to some software that they depend on to work. So if the guy decided, oh, this guy has been working for 2 months, he's going to have to use a tractor for reaping or for the harvest, the switch down so he can call us, everybody's going to receive the same call. They're going to kill a lot of switch on the agriculture in season when they have to sow, or just the first moon in order to seed, plant, and then wait for the harvest. In those days when you're going to have to the harvest, they kill the switch off, so you have to go and call for $2,000 to $5,000 repairs only for a 5-minute fix on the software that can be done automatically through satellite, etc. So when the corruption is so expanded and so out of its way, and it's the only way the rich wants to get richer, using us, the country and the world, as pawns in this mechanistic corruption that I already told you within a state and rich donors, etc. Like it's the case of universities when they are calling for the destitution of the department in the University of Columbia. I don't remember what it was, the dean of what, but he was the head of some important department at the University of Columbia. And how now the lobby, the Jewish lobby, is asking for him to be removed because it doesn't protect his interest, when they have not proven in court that the Jewish people has been harassed or there's anti-Semitism specifically proven in court to make these decisions that Donald Trump is taking in universities in order to harass people with 6 guys with masks, dress as civilians, come with no identification whatsoever, put them in a private car and leave. That is opening the opportunity for abusers to do whatever they want with others, especially Zionists against people in Canada and the United States. And who is going to protect us from that? Prime Minister here in Canada, here in, or again, it's going to be up to us to exercise our right to defend ourselves. Because if I am attacked by a Zionist, I'm going to defend myself to the end of it. Talk to you later, guys.